Stillwater's Morning Scramble. Glad to have you here and glad to have the mayor in, Will Joyce.
Good morning, Steve.
How'd your weekend go?
It wasn't bad. I actually
Nice outside, wasn't it?
Well, I spent some time out at Grand Lake this weekend. Family went out there for just for a day and a half and floated in the water and watched the sunset.
Good.
That was about it.
Many people out there?
It was kind of busy. There were a lot of boats out on Saturday, but we didn't. We basically sat at one spot and didn't get out to where anybody would have been necessarily. But there were a lot of boats out.
Yeah, we have Robin from Audio Midwest on Fridays, and the one thing that I think has really spiked with his business has been audio and boats, because people are looking to have a wide open space where they can go out, and you are distancing, and you're still outside, and
can't get farther away than everybody else than sitting in the middle of a lake, right?
There you go.
If that's what you're doing, and I'm not sure that that's what everybody's doing.
Right.
I think there's still, not great decisions necessarily being made there. But yeah, I think boat sales and RV sales, and I saw a tweet, I think from the lieutenant governor, that said like our normal attendance at state parks for this period of time would be like 3 million visitors, and there were 5 million this year.
Yeah.
That were at the people that went to state parks. So there's a lot more people, kind of going, well, I guess we could go out camp in state park or go drive around, and that's it's a way to get out and find some place that's not too crowded and
that's right up his alley too, because in-state tourism's been something he's really promoted, which I think is great.
Yeah, he's been a huge part of that, and I don't know if it's always been the lieutenant governor's job or if it was just something they added when he took over, but he's like the chief marketing officer or something. He's got the chief tourism officer or some kind of title that puts him in, is the head of the tourism efforts of the state, and they've done a great job. It's a bad time to try to
leave the state.
Yeah, well, and it's a bad time to try to promote, events and that kind of, Nicole and the Visit Stillwater folks have done a great job of kind of pivoting to doing all the other stuff that they've helped with businesses in town, that sort of thing. But it's tough when, people aren't traveling and that kind of thing. But, certainly we're seeing more folks stay in the state and find something to do closer to home.
And I'd ask you a few weeks ago if you'd flown. I have not flown in the last several.
No.
I even asked Paul Pregel. I think Paul had not even flown.
No, I don't doubt that. It's
he's seen lots of almost empty planes go out, but we're very lucky to have the flights that we do here.
Still running one flight a day out of Stillwater Airport as of right now, which is great. I think certainly our load factors and the amount of people using the airport pre-COVID was really high. We were really doing well and seeing a lot of success with our local commercial air service through American Airlines. And so, I'm hopeful that once things calm down a little bit, once we have the ability to travel more and flights start picking back up, that you'll see tons of people flying in and out of Stillwater.
No doubt. Hey, obviously OSU starts today. I wasn't sure what time class starts, but it starts today too.
It does.
Stillwater Public Schools starts on Thursday. Yep. Area schools, many have already started and figured out their bus routes and stuff like that. It's a different world altogether. When you talk about a university, you talk about bringing people and lives and money and entertainment and stuff back, and that it can turn different ways. We did see a very visible side of what we didn't want, and that's with big party going on that went viral. Yeah,
it did. We've had Stillwater's been following the governor's reopening plan since mid-May when they started. The state started pushing to open things back up. So our bars and restaurants and really every business in the community of Stillwater has been fully open since the end of May, really. So I think, there was a video out from one of the bars this weekend where there were a lot of folks in there dancing and drinking and doing what people do in bars. I don't think that's the first night you could have shot that video. We've seen, the bars have been.
Do we know when that came from? Was that?
I assume it's from Saturday night.
It was Saturday. I saw it Sunday night. I had a friend send me and said, "Have you seen this?"
Yeah, and that's been, that was part of the rise in cases that we saw in June here in Stillwater. Once things were open back up, we started to see some students coming back to start leases in the 1st of June and come back to work at businesses that were reopening in June and July, and we went from 0 active cases for several weeks to 175 active cases within 3 weeks, and those kinds of scenes were part of that as well. So it's disappointing. It's, I think, irresponsible on a lot of people's parts, from the students or whoever it is that, I don't know that they're all students, but whoever is deciding that that's a good environment for them to go spend a few hours in on a Saturday night. I think that's a pretty poor decision on their part. I'm honestly disappointed in some of those business owners for not taking better precautions. We've spoken with many of them in the last few weeks. In fact, a lot of bar owners on the Strip reached out to us proactively and said, we want to make sure we're able to stay open, but we also want to make sure we're able to keep, our patrons safe. And unfortunately, I haven't seen a whole lot of that proactively on their part being done, and that's disappointing. So, we'll continue to take a look at it. I think
Do you know where that particular? You don't have to say where it was, but do you know where that picture was?
I
that
don't
video
know.
comes from?
I think it was the Union Bar, which is down on the Strip,
Right.
because I think the DJ was recognizable, the guy who plays there. I think it was. I'm not for sure. I think one of the other videos that the same reporter posted was of a line outside of Outlaws.
Yeah, Michelle was telling me about that. I didn't see that picture.
Yeah, and that, I mean, I don't say that to single any of those folks out. I think it's not one place that's a
Right.
problem, and it's not one group of people that's a problem, and it's really not even just the bars that are the problem. But because we're seeing, I'm sure there's house parties going on. We saw a bunch of cases come out of a sorority house, and I don't think that they were all out at the bar when they got that. I think that may have been part of some other kind of sorority function. So it's hard to pinpoint. Certainly, that kind of environment in a bar is highly dangerous given the nature of this infectious disease. But it's also not the only problem that we're facing when it comes to keeping people safe and getting people to make better decisions.
What kind of discipline will happen if anything like that?
I mean, there's not a whole lot, there's no disciplinary action that we take. I mean, it's a question of, are there measures that we can put in place to help, if people aren't able to make better decisions on their own, are there measures we can put in place to?
But for the
kind of put
businesses
some-
themselves, there's no fines or anything like that?
No, I mean, I don't know that there's anything current. There's nothing on the books that they're not. I guess that their failure to enforce, if they didn't have signs up for their masks
Right.
and that sort of thing, because
That's what I meant by
they
discipline,
should
not for
be.
the individuals.
Really, the only thing that's required of them right now is to post the signage,
Right.
and to make sure their staff are wearing masks. Now, if their staff wasn't, or if they didn't have signage up, those would be things we could currently take action on. But there's other methods we can look at. We've talked. I heard you talking with Nicole earlier about what the situation's like in Ames, or what are they doing in Manhattan, and that sort of thing. And so we've actually been going through all the other Big 12 towns and other college towns around the country to kind of see what the different measures people are trying to take are at this point. I think that the thing that stood out to me the most so far is that of the probably 15 or 20 college towns we've looked at, all but us and Norman, and I think maybe Tuscaloosa and maybe Ames, have rules that have been put in place by their governors. The governor of Texas has bars, restrictions on bars. The governor of Kansas has restrictions on bars. These are statewide mandates, which is absolutely the way it should be, because as we've talked about many times in here, yes, this is a problem in Stillwater, a particular problem in Stillwater, but it's not just a problem in Stillwater. It's a problem in Stillwater and Norman and Oklahoma City and Tulsa and lots of other towns around the state where either there are colleges or there's just people gathering in places they really create more risk for their communities. And so, we're seeing our highest infection rates are in the eastern and southeastern parts of the state. So it's not just a one locality problem. We need, I think, a broader approach to trying to solve this thing, and that's what we're seeing. That's what we've seen in other places. Now, in the absence of state action in Oklahoma, we will take the action that we need to take if that's what the council and what we, in terms of talking to health professionals and our health department and our hospital and what they think we need to do. we'll do that, but it's not going to be as effective as it would be if it was a state mandate.
Yeah, we were talking off the air. Dr. Burks was in Oklahoma over the weekend, and you see her at the task force meetings and when they have all that, and she's there with the president and everything.
Mm-hmm.
She was in. It looked like, I guess, as a guest of the governor, because there were rules, and one, there were no media availabilities, no questions could be asked, and normally there are.
Yeah,
But the governor apparently made the rules on this one, and it's like, no, you guys can't talk to her.
I was surprised and disappointed to see that Dr. Burks' visit to the state was not more open and broader in terms of who she talked to and her ability to talk to the media afterwards. I know in her visits in the other Midwestern states she's been in, Kansas just before us, there was media availability after her meeting, and here in Oklahoma we seem to be the only one where she didn't have time to talk to the media, which is surprising. I was also surprised to hear from Mayor Holt, or I'm sorry, Mayor Bynum, Tulsa's Mayor G.T. Bynum, who did attend the meeting, and after the meeting in his media availability said that he asked for Dr. Bruce Dart, who's the head of the Tulsa Health Department, to be able to attend the meeting as well, and he was told there wasn't room for Bruce Dart, the head of the Tulsa County City County Health Department, to attend a meeting with the nation's coronavirus coordinating chair. So I mean, I'm not sure what the point of that meeting was. They came out afterwards and said she didn't really make any recommendations. I guess she said people should be wearing masks and they should be distancing, but
well, the governor said, and she complimented us on how well we were doing.
And there are parts of what we've been doing that are good, and I'm sure she highlighted, the fact that we have, compared to where we were several months ago, ramped up testing and done a lot of different things. But, there was also the discussion from, a couple weeks ago that one of the committees in the House had said Oklahoma is one of the states that's not even following the suggestions that have been given by the administration's coronavirus task force, and there was no discussion of that, about whether that was the case or not, or did she come and tell us, hey, we recommended that you were supposed to be doing this and you're not, and
maybe a reason why there wasn't media availability, because some of the questions would have been about Oklahoma.
I'm sure that would have been the first question.
Sure.
Has the state of Oklahoma been following the recommendations of President Trump's task force on the coronavirus? And if not, why not? And if not, when are they going to? And those kinds of questions I think are incredibly relevant. And so it was disappointing to see that we didn't get a little bit more information about what that visit was and why she was here and what she said. Again, Steve, it's in our state, it has been squarely placed on the shoulders of, honestly, volunteer mayors and city councils without very good support from the statewide health department. Now, our local health department folks at Payne County Health Department, who covers, it's not just the Payne County Health Department. The Payne County Health Department is part of Region 3 of the regional health departments, and so our department covers several counties around Payne County. We don't have a dedicated health department just for Payne County. Oklahoma City and Tulsa have dedicated city-county health departments, which are somewhat separate even from the rest of the state system. In Stillwater, we rely on the Payne County Health Department, which covers several counties. They've done great work. They've done everything they can do, but they don't have any authority to tell us, right, these are the things that need to happen. They don't have, not to get off on a tangent here, Steve, but one of the issues that came up with this testing that showed a large group of cases in a sorority house here in Stillwater, those were evidently, the tests were done outside of the state's normal testing procedure, and so those numbers are not reported within the state's positive testing reporting. So we won't necessarily see those numbers reflected in Stillwater's positive test count. And I, reached out to the health department this weekend about that and said, is that the case? And they said, well, yeah, they're trying to figure that out. But somehow the state health department in their reporting hasn't figured out how to incorporate all these different testing.
So what about the other student groups?
So everything else the university is doing. So,
okay,
the university again, I mean, it's very confusing, even to those of us who are having these conversations every day about how there's this different testing track and some of it's not being reported to the same place the other testing is. And were these 23 tests that showed positive not part of the university's coming back plan? I still haven't figured that out. I mean, we're trying to look into that, and the county health department was sort of on the same page, saying the state's trying to figure out how to report these tests, and it's very frustrating at this point, Steve. We are 6 months in to a nationwide, worldwide pandemic, and to not have better answers to these questions from the professional state taxpayer-funded health department and the administration in this state, to not have a better handle on how this stuff should be going is incredibly frustrating. And for them to turn around and say, "Oh, you as a city, you can figure this out on your own." Well, we don't have the resources to do that. We don't have a health department. We don't have paid professional, administrators that deal with pandemic response. This is it is incredibly frustrating that we've got to try to make all these decisions without the kind of information that we need to be able to do that.
I've received a text a little while ago wanting to know a question. I'm sure you've been asked that, and I've talked to you about it. There's a big music festival starting on, Thursday, later on this week, when you're talking about weed stock.
Yep.
It has been addressed. Where can we go with that? And
take it to the governor.
Because it's not in the city limits of Stillwater.
It's not in the city limits of Stillwater. The Payne County Commission, I had suggested that people contact them early on because it's not in the city, it's in Payne County, but they've informed us that they don't have any authority to make those kinds of decisions at a business level. Supposedly they had to issue a couple of permits for the event, but I don't really know what that process is for them, but they've indicated that they can't do anything about it. Really, the way that most businesses in the state were shut down in March was through all that whole non-essential business shutdown. That was all the governor's orders. Right, so the governor has the authority to make that pronouncement or to do something about it, but nobody else in the state seems to be able to do anything.
So, hey, we got a caller here.
That sounds like fun.
You willing to do? Well, why not? I don't know if those are working or not. You'll be able to hear it on the speaker down below here.
Okay.
Stillwater's Morning Scramble. You're on with the mayor. Hi.
Good morning. Well, about the only state official that I'm real happy with this response is Joy Hoffmeister. She did put out some information with the meeting in Tulsa, was it yesterday or Saturday, with Biersch. And, she tried to do something with the schools, whether you agree with it or not. But I think Governor Stitt kind of twisted the arms of some of the state board members, so it didn't pass. But at least she's trying to do something.
I absolutely agree.
And I'm not sure, I am very disappointed in the governor and his lack of response.
Well said, I think.
Absolutely. I think that's true. I did see the state superintendent's comments about the meeting because she was invited, which was good. And I think you're right. I think what you're finding is the people who have the more direct responsibility for a group, like the state superintendent does over school students in our state, they are doing everything they can to try to deal with that situation. The concern I have and the problem I think with our governor's response has been the lack of overall coordination between, okay, what needs to happen for schools, what needs to happen for businesses, what needs to happen for colleges and universities, what needs to happen for communities large and small, and to try to bring all that together into a coordinated response of some kind. And instead what they've done is just said, okay, you guys go figure it out on your own. And now you have a situation where our local school board, our local city council, our local university administration are all, we're working together and trying to do what we can individually, but there's no overarching plan. There's no overarching coordination happening at a state level to help us all make sure we're on the same page and that we're all moving in the same direction. And so it's left up to all of those individual constituencies to try to do it on their own. And that, to me, is the point of state government. The point of a government at that level is to make sure that in a situation like this that is widespread and brings lots of different people to the party with lots of different concerns, is that you come and coordinate it or help us coordinate it from a higher level. And we're not seeing that from the state government right now.
Well, what I've heard about the state administration, Hoffmeister, he can't fire her.
No.
And it's the people that he can't touch that are speaking out. And I'm not sure in his administration, didn't the chief of staff quit the other day?
Yeah, I did. I think I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and and what somebody told me that's pretty knowledgeable is that his administration is kind of like the Hunger Games. And I just don't think that they're on the same page, and a lot of them are afraid to speak out. But be it what it may.
Yeah. Now you were a teacher anyway in Enid, correct? Or you know what's going on in Enid?
I am a teacher. I teach at Garber, but live in Enid.
Okay, tell me what's going on with both those schools right now. First of all, I know Enid chose not to go with the mask mandate, I think. Does that spill over into the school and how they're doing things?
I'm not really. I mean, now Enid schools, I think they wear masks in the commons area. I don't think that they have to wear them in the classroom.
Okay. What about Garber?
Garber, they're highly encouraged, but not mandatory. And, we've got a lot of other things in place, but the kids have been seen to slacking off about wearing masks. So the administration said, well, if you don't wear masks, then we'll make some steps. So it picked up a little bit. So we can only strongly encourage.
Very good. So, hey, I appreciate all the input. Anything we missed?
No, I just wish that we were better prepared for this, and everybody was on the same page.
So, amen to
Absolutely.
that.
Amen.
Thank you. Very good. You got an amen from an ordained minister here, right?
Not ordained, just licensed.
Oh, just licensed. Okay. So, anyway, the amen carries here.
Yeah.
So, appreciate that. We're going to get a break in here, then we'll dive in. You have a meeting tonight.
We do, yep.
And I want to make sure you were writing quite a bit yesterday. I don't know how. I saw your tweet anyway.
I did, yeah. I just responded. I got quite a bit of feedback yesterday after the videos of the bars, and folks asking me what we were doing about it. So I let people know that we already, our regularly scheduled meeting is tonight. We do have pandemic response issues already on the agenda, so we'll be talking more about it today.
Okay, and we'll dive into that a little more coming up here as we continue with the mayor.